So we're doing the news. I'm going into this blind. I have not been able to look at news stories for today. I know about the big, beautiful bill. I don't know what else is going on. So, what do you got
Did you
for
get my
us? I'm
list?
going to ask questions and give my reaction because I did not have time to check out your list.
Okay. Well, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Today is Tuesday, July 1st. At the top of the story here, Senate Republicans narrowly passed Trump's mega bill after marathon voting session. The revised package now heads back to the House, where Republican leaders hope to approve it and send it to Trump before a self imposed July 4th deadline. But it faces multiple hurdles. The Republican controlled Senate narrowly passed President Trump's sweeping domestic policy package on Tuesday, bringing it one step closer to his desk. The vote was 51-50, fitting, with Vice President J.D. Vance breaking a tie after three Republicans joined all the Democrats in opposing the legislation. In a marathon overnight session that spanned more than 24 hours, senators voted on dozens of proposed changes to the legislation, and GOP leaders dragged out many of the votes as they frantically worked to win over holdouts. They ultimately secured enough votes with a catch all amendment that was similarly approved with a vote of 51-50. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican out of Alaska, who had expressed concerns throughout the process about the bill's cuts to social safety net programs, was a key vote for Senate Majority Leader John Thune to win over. Voting against the final bill alongside all 47 Democrats were Republican Senators Rand Paul out of Kentucky, Tom Tillis out of North Carolina, and Susan Collins out of Maine. What the bill consists of is about 16 million children will lose school meals, more than $3.5 trillion added to the national debt, 148 billion in lost wages and benefits for construction workers. There's cuts to food services for veterans. The bill provides billions in surveillance for deportations. It adds ICE as one of the largest funded law enforcement branch in the United States. Cuts tax credits for buying electric vehicles. There's 186 billion in cuts to SNAP food assistance, and the largest cut to Medicaid in history. So, this is what we
My
can
underst-
expect.
my understanding was that who's the Alaska senator? Was it Collins?
Murkowski.
Murkowski. Who was this? Oh, Maine Senator Collins, right? Did she? No,
Yeah.
who was the senator? So there was a senator that took a deal, right? Did you see
Mm-hmm.
that?
I think it
Right.
was
Which senator
Murkowski.
was that? Murkowski, where she basically said that all of the Medicare Medicaid cuts would not happen to Alaska, right?
Yep.
It basically
Mm-hmm.
wrote in contiguous was the word. So only in the United States. So basically she just screwed over everybody else. And it's crazy because she knows that the deal is bad. Clearly. Otherwise she would have approved it. She knows what it would do to her state. And she went ahead and did it anyways. Where she could have killed it and she could have saved Medicare or Medicaid in the rest of the United States. She could have
This
saved
is on
those
her.
cuts,
Yep.
and she went and made that deal. That is a fucking evil deal. That is evil. You have to be a sick person to be that goddamn oblivious. Not even oblivious. You knew it was going to happen. You know what's going to happen. You know why you didn't want those cuts in your state. You know exactly why. And more so, all of the other Republicans, right? They're like, yeah, we'll go along with it. So they know that she had to do this to save face. This
Apparently,
is
her deal was cut
it's
out by the
evil.
Senate parliamentarian.
Was it still it's still active?
I think it's cut out,
Oh, okay. Well, they're in there.
so she still
The
voted
fact that she
for it.
tried to make it, though, the fact that she tried to
Yeah.
make it, and by the way, which I actually think makes it worse. She knew now she know. It's like she didn't even save her state. She didn't even save her state. That's actually crazy. So she knew the deal was bad. She got that penciled in, and then agreed to it anyways,
And
knowing
now
it's
she'll be
going to hurt
voted
people
out.
in her state. God, I hope
When
she
is she up for
is.
re-election?
This is like the thing. This is like I'm not sure, but this is like
Let's
the
see.
thing with Republicans is like, and what I like, I try to make this like really, really clear. Is like they do things that they know will hurt people,
Mm-hmm.
and then when those things hurt people, they point and laugh at the people it hurt that are former Republicans. It's not just Democrats. This is what they always go talk about homeless people. It's not just Democrats that are on the streets. There are Republicans that were subjected to the evil things that the Republican Party has done. And then who listens to them? No one. The Republicans turn around, point at them, and laugh, even though there's all Republicans that believe them. Those are Republicans that were affected that ended up homeless because of those Republican policies. And the Republicans turn around and point fingers at them. The moment it happens to you, they'll forget. It's like that farmer that literally got that deal with the Biden administration for
Mm-hmm.
$300,000 and then inevitably got it cut by the Trump administration. He That's what you advocated for. You should be happy about it, right? But then he goes, "Oh no, 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 no! I didn't want that to happen to me. That didn't happen to me." So,
Leopards weren't
Jaden,
supposed to eat
thoughts?
my face.
Yes, exactly. Jaden, thoughts?
Well, exactly that. They, and the word is short sighted. That's what I've always called it. Lisa Murkowski is chasing her electoral chances. She's up for re election in 2028. But I think this is going to bite her in the butt. Never mind the fact that, Alaska has only a few 100,000 people that live there. They're still very much affected by this. There are still veterans that live there. There are still tribes, very much so, that are affected by this. And this is only dealing those constituents and everybody else a great disservice. I don't know why anybody is so adamant about this, other than padding the pockets of their donors. But this in no way benefits our society. It's something like Yale estimated, and I think Penn State estimated an additional 51,000 people were going to die each year.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the cost of
So,
this.
right. Uh, Carbon, you're in here for the first time in a while. You got thoughts?
I'm actually reading about the Murkowski deal, so I'll have thoughts in a few minutes.
All
Okay.
right.
Josh, you got anything?
Yeah, just like what you were saying. I mean, this stuff doesn't people don't care about it until it affects them, and that's what we saw with Murkowski. She was willing to let the rest of the country suffer because she saw her people would suffer and do it for her constituents. I guess was her excuse, but then it bit her in the butt. Like that's and now people are gonna care. She's not gonna get reelected for this. She's up for it again in 2028. This it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're one
Yeah.
of the largest. So it's excuse me, Texas, Florida, as well as South Dakota are the only ones that actually put in. They're one of the largest that take out of it, aren't they? Alaska.
I think
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Alaska lives on blue state subsidies. You got the next story for us, Jaden?
Unfortunately, but here we go with this one. A proposal to deter states from regulating artificial intelligence for a decade was soundly defeated in the U.S. Senate and on Tuesday today, thwarting attempts to insert the measure into President Trump's big, beautiful bill of tax breaks and spending cuts. The Senate voted 99 to 1 to strike the AI provision from the legislation after weeks of criticism from both Democratic and Republican governors and state officials. Originally proposed as a 10-year ban on states doing anything to regulate AI, terrible deal, lawmakers later tried to tie it to federal funding so that only states that backed off on AI regulations would be able to get subsidies for broadband, internet, or AI infrastructure. A last ditch Republican effort to save the provision would have reduced the time frame to 5 years and sought to exempt some favored AI laws, such as those protecting children or country music performers, Taylor Swift, from harmful AI tools. But the effort was abandoned when Senator Marsha Blackburn, a Tennessee Republican, teamed up with Democratic Senator Marcia Cantwell of Washington on Monday night to introduce an amendment to strike the entire proposal. Rare W for Senator Blackburn here. This is a personal thing, and I can't even fathom the idea of restricting a state government's ability to access federal funds based on whether or not they do or don't regulate AI. AI needs to be regulated, and I can only speak from my experience from last weekend, this weekend. I was a part of a film festival, and our film did very well. It was a short film thing. but it was followed up with an AI film, and that crap can't be allowed. So I think it's
Car
BS.
Carbon. Got
Yeah,
something?
I would say like it's very clear where this is coming from. It's coming from these large AI labs that are like lobbying government and saying, "Hey, listen, we're trying to build like AGI or even ASI," and they're getting in the pockets and getting in these private meetings with these conservative politicians and influencing them to say, "Hey, in 10 years, yeah, we don't want any regulations. 5 years, we don't want any regulations." It's just a stupid deal, obviously, because we don't know what AI is going to look like in 5 years. It's
Right.
only been 2.5 years since the original ChatGPT dropped, and we've had like massive, massive changes, not only to like the infrastructure, like they're much much smarter now, but also how like it's affecting people's lives. You don't know how it's going to affect what how it's going to affect this country in the next
Yeah.
5 years, much less 10 years. So
Yeah.
saying like if it harms somebody and yeah, if it's doing like uh, um, a, a drastic amount of harm in a state, and the state just cannot regulate it whatsoever, they're just going to have to run back to the federal government and start lobbying the government to undo that law. It makes no sense. It's
We
ridiculous.
should do after this a talk exclusively on AI and where it's going.
I want to tell you
But
about this
yes, I
film
agree.
festival
We
thing.
don't know where AI is going, but yeah. Sorry, you can go ahead on go to the next round. We don't know where AI is going, so but we should talk AI after this.
Yeah. After this, I want to tell you about that film festival in depth. But here we have some more stories here on the foreign policy front. Trump says Israel has agreed on terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza and urges Hamas to accept the deal. So that's coming out of today. Trump said today that Israel has agreed on terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza and warned Hamas to accept the deal before conditions worsen. Trump announced the developments as he prepares to host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for talks at the White House on Monday. The U.S. leader has been increasing pressure on the Israeli government and Hamas to broker a ceasefire and hostage agreement and bring an end to the war in Gaza. It reads, my representatives had a long and productive meeting with the Israelis today on Gaza. Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day ceasefire, during which time we will work with the parties to end the war, Trump wrote, saying that the Qataris and Egyptians would deliver the final proposal. I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas strikes this deal because it will not get better, it will only get worse, he said. Trump promises that this will be his best and final offer and to find a skeptical audience with Hamas. Even before the expiration of the war's longest ceasefire in March, Trump has repeatedly issued dramatic ultimatums to pressure Hamas to agree to longer pauses in the fighting that would see the release of more hostages and return to more aid to the Gaza's civilian populace. Now, I am not confident that a ceasefire agreement brokered by Trump would hold, given the fact that he's consistently undermined it with his support of Israel and the lack of humanitarian aid going into Gaza. This being the same lunatic that proudly posted an AI generated video of him annexing Gaza, hardly the one I would trust in delivering a fair deal for the Palestinian people, the people of Gaza. So whether or not this is finalized and will hold is to be determined, but I've no doubt in my mind that either side is culpable of breaching the terms and conditions of it.
Yeah, it's been a complete failure at deal making, so I don't, I don't really see this changing. The first ceasefire already failed. There's nothing to argue about there. So, Carbon or Josh? I know Josh hasn't said anything, so I don't know if Josh wants to talk or not. But Carbon, you got something?
Nah, I'm all right.
Anything on the ceasefire deal?
Oh, I thought Josh was okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Just plain and simple. I don't trust any. First of all, I don't even trust that there was a deal. But if there was, yeah, it's just par for the course.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
Trump is
yeah.
very giddy to announce, these kind of things, and then we find out in 24 hours to 48 hours that it all goes to shit. So
Right, and it creates this illusion that he's done something, and then they just forget about
right.
it, and it's a complete failure. It like literally like there is nothing like I can't think of anything Trump's done foreign relationship wise that's done well. Like foreign relation wise, it's done well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Is there
that's
anything?
what he's doing. It's no, that's the whole thing. Like he says, I did Pakistan and India. No, they
Right.
didn't.
No,
Like
you didn't.
they came out and said that's all
Both
he's doing.
sides.
He's just claiming victory for
Both
things
sides said that.
that it didn't happen. So that way,
All right.
our his little minions can run around and be like, look, he did this, and then if people don't know that India and Pakistan came out and said, "Hey, no, he had nothing to do with this," then that lie just goes unchecked. This is all how propaganda works. This is
And he
how
did that
fascism
recently.
works.
He did it recently with
He does it
Iran
all
and
the
Israel
time.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. He did it with Iran and Israel. He did it with the first agreement with Israel and Iran. He's done it with
Russia and
everything.
Ukraine.
He claimed the Congo, despite the fact that Biden started those diplomatic relations. Was there something else?
Yeah, we got
Did
more
I miss
stories here.
something? No, not the
No.
story, but is there an
Yeah.
honest?
No.
Has
This is par for the course for him.
Yeah, it's just literally say we did this, it fails, and yeah. All right.
And
Well,
expect the
next
rest
story,
to
Gene.
catch up.
Yeah.
Yep. In continuance with our foreign policy news here, the U.S. is halting some shipments of weapons to Ukraine amid concerns that its own stockpiles have declined too much. Christ. Officials said on Tuesday, a setback for the country as it tries to fend off escalating attacks from Russia. Certain munitions were previously promised to Ukraine under the Biden administration to aid its defense during the more than 3-year-old war. The pause reflects a new set of priorities under President Trump and came after Defense Department officials scrutinized current U.S. stockpiles and raised concerns. Reading, this decision was made to put American interests first following a review of our nation's military support and assistance from other countries across the globe. White House spokesperson Ann Kelly said in a statement. The strength of the United States Armed Forces remains unquestioned. Just ask Iran. That was a reference to Trump recently ordering U.S. missile strikes against nuclear sites in Iran. Pentagon stocks of some weapons found to be low, officials say. The Pentagon review determined that stocks were too low on some weapons previously pledged, so pending shipments of some items won't be sent, according to a U.S. official who spoke on condition of anonymity to provide information that has not yet been made public. The Defense Department did not provide details on the specific weapons that were being held back. America's military has never been more ready and more capable, spokesperson Sean Parnell said, adding that the major tax cut and spending package moving through Congress ensures that our weapons and defense systems are modernized to protect against 21st century threats for generations to come. The halt of some weapons from the U.S. is a blow to Ukraine as Russia has recently launched some of its biggest aerial attacks of the war in an escalating bombing campaign that has further dashed hopes for a breakthrough in peace efforts championed by Trump. Talks between both sides have ground to a halt.
I'm gonna ask this. I don't know if Harry's over on Twitch, but if Harry is, speak up and give us an update on that because I have not been paying attention to what's going on there. I do know that Russia's gone on the fence or on the offense. Ukraine's playing defense pretty well, but yeah, the Trump administration playing games here is very clearly hurting the war effort. I mean, that's all that happens. Like, Kay, appreciate the sub. Thank you. Halting shipments on weapons. Literally, all you're doing is giving Russia like literal ammunition to stay in the war. They're like, well, they're not getting as many weapons, so we'll just continue, right? Fund them more, right? Russia's only hope here is if they can bleed Ukrainian defenses. That's their only hope. Other than that, they ain't going to have this enormous breakthrough and the lines aren't going to collapse. So they have to make sure those weapons aren't going over there. And you'll notice, and I want to point this out because this is really important to understanding the war in Ukraine, is propaganda, is disinformation, and convincing Americans that we should not be invested in it. And that's part of the thing. Russian bot farms have inundated Trump spaces. We see it when it happens in relation to the war in Ukraine pretty egregiously. Republicans went from Trump is strong against Putin. Putin's not that bad. He's just trying to take care of his. That's Russian bot farms manipulating public opinion. And we see this even now with when Trump takes a stance that's non-favorable to Russia. there's a mega civil war that breaks out. It happens every time. It just happened last week, didn't it? What was the issue there? There was some sort of issue that happened. Oh, with Iran, right? With Iran, where MAGA was like, this is bad, but also this is good, but also, and there was a big division between it. Or when they were trying to get people put into Congress, who's Trump, or into the Trump cabinet, who's going to be appointed. There were these big schisms because Russians are influencing who they want to get in here. They did a lot of influencing during the election. The list goes on. So this is important. Like if Trump can't, and the Republicans kind of dug themselves a ditch here. How they get out of it, I don't really know. But if there is going to be a mega civil war, or there's going to be issues caused in America and schisms between the Republicans and even what they believe, it's oftentimes posted by Russian bot farms, pretty incessantly. Josh, you have anything?
No, go ahead.
Carbon?
Yeah, it just sounds like a classic example of nah, bro, I don't got it. That's just really what it sounds like. It's very convenient how they've not been wanting to fund Ukraine, and then this seems to come out. And I also heard some contradictory statements there, like the analogy is just nah, bro, I don't got it. Also, I'm the richest person in the world. Like it just doesn't make any sense. You're fine on your weapons, but you're also not fine on your weapons. It just seems like an excuse.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, we got one more.
Three more important stories here. I think this one is certainly going to bite conservatives directly in the ass, given the state that it comes from. Kansas law surrounding child support payments for unborn children effective today. Over 100 new bills are going into effect in Kansas on July 1st, including one that provides child support payments for unborn children. The law is just one of many going to the books, but has been the topic of controversy for months. Supporters say it's about financially supporting women and mothers and improving the livelihoods of children from conception. Those in opposition say that the definition of unborn child could open the door to fetal personhood in Kansas and be used as an anti-abortion tactic in further legislation. Pregnancy is expensive, right? And complicated, and then you start bringing in lost work time. That's another expense at the same time, explained Emporia State University professor of political science Michael Smith. It does appear that this is a movement towards towards what anti-abortion activists call fetal personhood, which would set the stage for different ways of limiting or abolishing abortion. The law requires child support payments from the date of conception. It includes the direct medical and pregnancy-related expenses of the mother as a factor in those payments. Now, let's be real,
Really?
okay? It's mostly
Yeah.
conservative men who rail against the idea of paying for child support. They say that it's a
Yeah.
rights revocation, which is funny because so is forcing someone to carry the term. But let's digress. They've now made this legal in at least one state in the South, predictably. They're going to have to start paying sooner and more for something that doesn't even exist yet, that is not a born human being yet. This is what they've advocated for. This is the regression that anti-abortion policies have now led
They
to.
really
Because
went
now it
full
directly affects
circle.
their pocketbook. Right. The leopard has finally
Ugh.
caught up to their face.
Well, should we? That's the craziest thing. Then should we have to pay for child support? And then now you have to pay for it from conception. Sean, appreciate the 5 over there. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to
I'm
pay
gonna read that
9
in
more
just a
months of
second.
child support.
I know. Here's the thing. I'm not even opposed to it. I think like from the date of conception is a bit crazy, but because like there's not that much going on in the beginning parts of pregnancy. But sure, there's doctor's appointments, whatever. So I'm not like immediately opposed to it. But and as someone that pays child support, but let's be clear. This very clearly feels like a right wing pro-life push. That's the reason, and that's for that reason it's really gross. It feels icky, like it's not being done for the right reasons, because these are the same Republicans implementing this law, putting these regulations on men, but also taking away WIC, attacking SNAP, attacking Medicaid, that type of stuff. So this isn't sincere, right? This is just to force Like inevitably, and what is going to happen, inevitably they're going to use this to say, well, now a woman has to carry to term. That's exactly, like, if you accept child support, you have to, or something to that degree, they're going to find a way to do it. That's very clear to me that this is a very, very manipulative tactic they're using to try and force this into the public eye, and they're really trying everything at this point, really trying everything. But just to be clear, most states don't have personhood at conception. That's a new thing. Uh, Previously, I don't know how many states have changed it, and I don't think there's no state that recognized personhood at conception, and except for certain instances of crimes. Um, but that being said, like, there is, yeah, there's no real reason for this other than to attempt to inevitably target this. That's they're yeah. There's Let's be clear. They're not doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it for all of the manipulative ones.
Yep, and I
Charlie,
worry about the
thoughts?
precedent that this sets of men who will violently attack their recently impregnated wife or what have you, for the sake of getting out of child support. People who may
Good point.
induce a miscarriage or something along those lines. I worry about what that spike might look like.
Yeah. Thoughts, Carbon?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues surrounding this one will be that of probably surveillance, because now you have like court justification and trying to figure out whether a woman is actually pregnant when she was pregnant. Was it at conception? When did conception happen? When did you guys have SMEX? Those kind of things. So surveillance, that becomes a big issue. So, I mean, on the bright side, I guess they're creating a lot of jobs, right? Embryo accountants, I guess, prenatal
Right.
lawyers.
What?
I don't know.
Like, I don't understand the logic here if you're pro-life, right? Because, like, if you are pro-life,
Yeah,
then the easiest thing that you could do would make it easier on women to have kids, right? To
right.
close out the child care issue, to give insurance, to give paid time off, to give SNAP and WIC and ensure like a quality of life for Americans. But they're not for that. They're for billionaires, right? They're for this idea of class collaboration, which is everybody has their place, stay in it, and they don't really give a shit about poverty. And it's so bizarre to me, the principle of wanting kids to be forced into this world while simultaneously not actually caring about those kids, right? I care about those kids. I care about the fetuses, the kids, but also deny their mothers the ability to take care of them. You know what I mean? And then there's like this bizarre juxtaposition between calling people deadbeat dads, but also like the same people that are saying you should have those kids are like blaming women when they end up a
Yeah,
single mother. It's such a weird fucking it's such a
Right.
weird mind fuck.
and I can really just imagine the scenario where the woman is pregnant, and the man is trying to fight child support, and so she's saying, "Oh, I've been pregnant for this long." He's disputing it, and they have to resolve the dispute in court. Would the judge just be forced to order like period test? Like, this is insane.
Well, not only that,
Yeah,
how are
I'm
they
not.
going to determine that who the father is
Yeah,
before birth? Like, I don't. Do they have tests for that? I don't
probably
think they
not
have
that
DNA
early.
Polly,
tests
appreciate the
before
raid.
birth.
Polly, appreciate the raid. Is there? I think there is, isn't there?
It's a good question. I think they do.
I'm pretty sure there was. I'm pretty sure
Probably
there
have to
is.
wait until they're born, if not, get a DNA test and then backtrack from
And
there.
back
When
charge
like,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah. See, this is what happens when four guys are talking about women's issues. We don't.
Yep.
I don't want. I don't.
I'm,
That's
I'm
why I don't
gonna get
like
some
doing
food,
the.
but
I don't
I
like doing
At
the
appreciate
least we
the
know
debate.
what
stream. You
vulvas
appreciate
are.
it.
Know how
Polly,
many
appreciate the
holes
raid.
there
Thank
are.
you.
The cars, right? Anyways, another story we have today. A federal judge ruled that recent mass layoffs in the United States Department of Health and Human Services were likely unlawful and ordered the Trump administration to halt plans to downsize and reorganize the nation's health workforce. On Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Melissa DuBose granted the preliminary injunction sought by a coalition of attorney generals from 19 states and the District of Columbia in a lawsuit filed in early May. DuBose said that states had shown irreparable harm from the cuts and were likely to prevail in their claims that HHS's action was both arbitrary and capricious. Never seen that word before. As well as contrary to law.
Capricious.
The executive branch does not have the authority to organize, order, or implement wholesale changes to the structure and function of the agency created by Congress, DuBose wrote in a 58-page order handed down from the U.S. District Court in Providence. Her order blocks the Trump administration from finalizing layoffs announced in March or issuing further firings. HHS is directed to file a status report by July 11th. An HHS spokesperson said the administration is reviewing the decision and considering the next steps.
Well,
They
he
say
loses another
here
one.
from a spokesperson, we stand by our original decision to realign this organization with its core mission and refocus a sprawling bureaucracy that over time has become wasteful, inefficient, and resistant to change.
I is right.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about that. They just keep losing. We got a sub from who?
That's right.
Koala and Brown Eyed Girl. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for the subs. I don't really have that much to say about that one. He just keeps losing.
Well,
He's
yeah,
violating the Constitution, and it's
This
just what's that?
is,
He's 90% loss rate, 90
I was
something
about to
percent
say
loss
this is
rate.
the 93% that we're talking about in court. He has lost
Yeah.
93% of the cases that he goes up against. This being another one. You cannot and should not have wholesale authority to massively undermine the health and human services for any reason. And this is clearly politically motivated. They think that there's too much scientists there, apparently, and are attempting to restructure it. But thankfully, this has been blocked. And we're supposed to be seeing some kind of a status report in the next few days. So, final story I have here. This one's real effed up. UPenn to update swimming record set by Leah Thomas settling with feds on transgender athletes case. So, this is their move of upending Leah Thomas based on her identity and her role in these sports here. Let's go into this. The University of Pennsylvania says it will upend records set by transgender swimmer Leah Thomas and apologize to female athletes, quote, disadvantaged by Thomas's participation in the women's swimming team, part of a resolution of a federal civil rights case. U.S. Department of Education and Penn announced the voluntary agreement on Tuesday. The case focused on Thomas, the transgender swimmer who last competed for the Ivy League school in Philadelphia in 2022, when she became the first openly transgender athlete to win a Division I title. The department investigated Penn as part of the Trump administration's broader attempt to remove transgender athletes from girls and women's sports, finding the college violated the rights of female athletes. Under the agreement, Penn agreed to restore all individual Division I swimming records and titles to female athletes who lost to Thomas and send a personalized apology to each of those swimmers, the education department said. Should be apologizing to Thomas. Her name and her image has been run through the rigor over the past 3.5 years or so for the sake of an anti-trans agenda that affects tens of people.
Yeah, this is a non-issue. And the crazy thing is, the people that are most upset about this are also the ones that are most likely to talk shit about women's sports.
Right. And
So
undermine
what
it.
right. So what validity do you have? Like, look at the science, look at what they say. I don't care. I don't give a shit. To be honest, I think we're a bit too competitive in this country, to be real with you. So,
I'd say so.
like, over stupid shit, over real stupid shit, like, I don't give a fuck. Be real. If a fucking silverback gorilla started playing football, right? Just hypothetically, most of us would be like, that's fucking cool. Like, we get, or something like crazy like
You
that.
leave
Like,
Kyle
everybody
Rittenhouse
loved
out
Air
of
Bud.
this.
Everybody loved Air Bud, right? But yeah, this is just rooted in hatred, bigotry, and it's very clearly a fascist ploy. If the science is saying one thing, this is the problem. Science is saying one thing, these idiots are just bigoted. They don't have anything
Yeah.
to stand on. It's unfair. It's unfair that women
It's
get
not a
paid as
rights
much as they do in
violation.
sports, but you're upset. No. Who cares?
You
I don't give a
participated in
shit.
this. These people
And there was like, there's a
openly understood
biological... there's a biological advantage. Fucking Aroldis Chapman has a biological advantage. Fucking Usain Bolt has a biological advantage. Shaquille O'Neal has a biological advantage. We
The
don't go and
Williams
try and
sisters.
make it fucking fair, cuz that's weird, right? We put boys in sports into age groups. We don't segregate them based off of how far along in puberty they are. We don't do that because it'd be fucking weird. It's an exception that only exists for trans people. That's it.
And like I said, affects tens of people. This being one of the, I don't know, handful of trans athletes that they can name or remember off the top of their head, now her career's been undermined. And for what? She paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, presumably, to attend this school just to have her abilities undermined? That's not fair. Where's the
Exactly.
concessions to her? And these athletes knew what they were getting into. All of them understood that. All of them signed up for that and welcomed her participation and are
I'm gonna give
now
you.
crying about this.
I'm gonna finish off on this, okay? Because I think this is important. If you don't have any reasons for believing what you believe that you and you care, right? It's fake. You've been manipulated. It's bigotry. If you don't have any reasons to believe what you're believing, it's real. It's a genuine reason, right? It's fake. Well, it's unfair to women in sports. So is getting paid, but you don't care, right? So is their pay. So is pay gap, but you don't care. You talk shit about that. So that's not fucking it. Well, migrants in the border because they're criminals. It's not true, right? If you don't have any valid reasons for believing what you believe in, and those reasons can be easily broken down, it's bigotry. Period. Period. It's bigotry.
Yep.
Is that all
And
for the
that's
news,
our
Jaden?
news. That is all for today.
All right.